and jiving to the moon. I've learned that thief has never learned, so I jump ship just to let him burn. I fly with the lane from the goon. Say what call me call. Shucking and jiving on the righteous edge, on the righteous edge. Shucking and jiving on the righteous edge, on the righteous edge. Live it up on the edge, on the righteous edge. Live it up on the edge, on the righteous edge. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I've learned that I love being a coon.
All right, that's too much. What's up? This is just a small stream I wanted to do because a debate came out and it really talked about a lot of the things that we talk about on this channel, and it kind of angered me to watch it because there was a lot of points being made that I thought people will watch this and miss what's really going on. So I wanted to look at this and just break down some of the Andrew Wilson versus Coach Greg Adams. To be perfectly honest, I have watched a lot of Andrew Wilson stuff. I am a fan. I've watched some of Coach Greg Adams and I saw some of his takes. I saw a lot of them and I enjoyed some of them. To be just to put it out there, I am a Christian. 100%. I'm not a Orthodox Christian. I'm more of a Reformed Baptist. If you think of people like Jeff Durbin or someone like Wesley Huff, that's more along the lines of what I believe. But in the cultural war, I would say I align far more with Christian ethics than I would secular ethics by far. So that's just me being non-biased. I mean, me being showing my bias, just so that anybody who was to see this later on would not be like, oh, he said he was non-biased. I'm very biased. I believe Jesus Christ is the only way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by him. And his way is always the best way. So with that being said, that doesn't mean that I don't have any red pill ideology as well. I think a lot of the things that the red pillars say, one of the reasons why they're hated so much, especially by feminists, is because they have a lot of points that are true. So who won this debate? Because it's basically Christian ethics versus red pill. So let's see what we got here. Let's see. Oh, that's my song. And we'll go through some of this debate, and I'll just say a lot of what I think, obviously. Let's do this. Oh man, my audio be messing up every time I press this one button. It just be messing up. But let's see this real quick. Let's see. We'll start off there and see what they have to say.
Adams, aka the free agent lifestyle. We're going to talk about today, is marriage worth it for men in the West? So let's get into some opening statements. Who wants to start off?
Yeah, man, marriage is a great institution. It was an institution that built the community of America. Most of the better communities that have safety, good children, good schools are typically centered around marriage. However, marriage has not progressed to the point where men can be safe legally, and a lot of men have experienced tremendous damage, collateral damage as a result, and it has led to broken families, a lot of broken hearts, simply because the laws are not positioned to benefit both people in a divorce. Therefore, you have no-fault divorce. You have opportunities for women to use the courts against men. And as a result, men have seen 1, 2, and 3 generations of men getting harmed, their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, their brothers getting harmed by this. So Generation Z men are not positioning themselves for a positive marriage.
Hey, let me just. He's absolutely right about that. And there's no denying that when you try to do marriage without God involved, you will fail. And what we're seeing now is a society who try to take God out of everything, whether it be education, whether it be the family structure, whether it be just a society in general. We want to do everything without God and have this secular society. And we're seeing that it's collapsing because some of the foundations for society, like marriage, cannot be done without God. It's darn near impossible to have a union based on trust, where you have vows that you take before who, if not God. So you get together and you say, I'm going to be faithful to this person. Well, what you see now is a degradation of marriage where people have said man and a man can get married, a woman and a woman can get married. Three women and a cat can be married. You can marry your car. 3 men and 1 woman is a marriage. Well, when you take God out of it and his parameters that he set up for society, family, sex inside of marriage, you see what we have now. So it's no wonder everything is falling and collapsing. We have no standard that we live by. So let's continue playing this.
So at this particular point, if someone asked me, would I recommend marriage for them, and they were in a certain position in life, they weren't established, I would say no. There's no benefit for the person to get married today.
Got it. Your response, Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't hear any anti-marriage arguments. I heard anti-divorce arguments. So I'm with you on divorce, 100%.
Stream over.
And
I agree.
But it's a good thing that the topic isn't on divorce, it's on marriage. And it seems like you agree with my proposition then. And the proposition is that marriage, quote, is a great institution.
Yep.
And that right now your concern is that men can't be safe in marriage, but that's not actually what you're saying. You're not saying men can't be safe in marriage, they can. You're saying that they may not be safe in divorce. So I have a counter proposition for you. My counter proposition is, what if it's the case that you can use religious marriage institutions without the state? And then we add the ecclesiastical structure of the marriage. That's what always kept them together anyway, before the state was ever involved. So what if...
He's right about that. Well, okay, so what some people get confused in society is, like I said before, they want to do godly things and have godly results and take God out of the whole structure. Marriage was, and still is, a union created by God. What makes me angry is when secular people, whether it be atheists, agnostics, liberals, they take the things that God has made because they see beauty in it, but they don't know why it's beautiful in the first place. The union that God created, the reason why you see all these different people taking these vows and they don't even know where they came from. When you talk about Eve is from Adam's side, from her rib, to be by her side, and all this stuff, all this poetic stuff, where does that come from? It comes from Genesis, chapter 1 through 3. Specifically, chapter 3. Well, that's the fall of man. But if you talk about chapter 1 through 3, it talks about the creation of man all the way to the fall of man. And what the purpose that woman was made for, and Adam. If we get away from that, why are we taking these vows and talking about a man should love his wife and a wife should respect her husband? Where is that from? Ephesians chapter 5. Why do we act as if we're going to do these things without the one who created these things? Yeah, if you try to do them, you're going to fail. That's what society is showing us right now. If you try to do godly things without God, you will fail.
If instead we use the ecclesiastical church, the structure of the old churches, that would be Catholicism and Orthodoxy, where you see the lowest divorce rates, because the community puts pressure on the women to act right. That's what they do. Right now, the state applies no pressure on women to act right? You can just go and file whatever you want, get a divorce, and go be banging the neighbor by the next night. We totally agree on that. But to say that we should abandon marriage is silly. It seems like you're completely pro-marriage. You're just anti-divorce. So why wouldn't you just throw your weight behind institutions where the divorce rate is the least and you have an ecclesiastical structure which can be appealed to assist with that? That's what makes no sense to me.
My response to that is if we're fifths, we beat all drunk.
Okay, here we go. This is the start of Coach Greg Adams and some of trying to push his sayings. You're going to see a lot of his sayings in this debate. And it's like, okay, so let me break something down for you guys. The reason why Andrew Wilson has gained such popularity is because he is a blood sport debater, and he took the same things that blood sport debates do and made it, what's the word? Mainstream. For those who don't know what blood sport debates is, about 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer, there was groups that would come together on the internet and they would debate and they would have different problems with each other and nothing was off the table. They would get personal, they would argue, it would be like knockout, drag out fights. Sometimes it was like 6 or 7 people involved at once, and it was completely entertaining, but it was called blood sports because it was like nothing off the table, right? Here's the problem with that. Most people derive into nothing but insults. And in fact, a lot of the arguments did. It was just end up yelling and people just calling each other names. But the thing about Andrew Wilson is he does understand things like the laws of logic. He does understand how to make a good argument. I was on the debate team for a long time in high school. And I tried to incorporate a lot of those things with some of the research papers I wrote and things like that. And you have to understand the laws of logic. You got to understand fallacies, things like that, how to present argument. He understands that, and he brings it to blood sport debates, which means that if you insult him, he'll insult you back. And it's very entertaining, and that's why he's getting so much gravitation towards him. And I think that instead of doing these formal rules and making everything, you get a turn, then I get a turn, he does a type of debating where it's more like a conversation or an argument you would have at the bar or argument you would have with your friends. And people like to hear that. It's more authentic. A lot of the women have a problem with him because they don't understand. This is how men debate about everything from sports to video games. This is how men do. This is why men gravitate towards him. They like what he does. So when you do these, if you're going to give insults, if you're going to belittle somebody, he's going to go right there with you. And so Coach Greg Adams, I want you guys to pay attention to a lot of things he says because he tries to go this route too.
All right, so that's a scenario that just isn't present.
Can you explain the analogy for me?
Well, if we use if, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If we say if we have a situation where this is present, then this would work. Well, that makes sense. If we had that,
We
it
do
would
have it
work
right now.
Well, it doesn't necessarily work because, and I'm going to tell you why, because a woman can go to a divorce attorney and they can simply just say, hey, listen, it was a off the cuff, off the state divorce, but you got married within a certain state, or she filed in a certain state, so therefore the divorce goes on.
No.
Absolutely, yes.
Well,
Listen, I've been to with the divorce attorneys, and what they'll tell you is, hey, listen, you can get married in a ritual, you can get married in the orthodoxy, you can get married off record, but if she files and that woman is hell-bent on saying, we got married, I don't care if it was a ceremony where we walked on coals with our feet bare, that's considered a marriage. You also,
I think what he's kind of referring to, a lot of states have this thing called common law marriage, meaning that you don't get to just escape the you don't get to escape your what is the word that I'm trying to think of? Your obligations as a husband simply because you just didn't get married. If you live with somebody for a certain amount of years, they consider you married and they still can do all the same things they would if you had taken a state run marriage and you go and got your marriage certificate and all this stuff. So he's gonna try to act as if no matter what a man does, no matter how they do it, it's still gonna have the same results. But we'll see how that goes.
have common law. You have a lot of other ways for that woman to establish
How
marriage.
does
And
your
that-
way eliminate common law?
I don't have any way to eliminate common law.
So
what
then-
I have is a way for men to avoid
Well, then the
being
argument's
used.
silly.
No, the argument's not silly. So here's what you have. You have a if proposition, which doesn't exist for most men. Most men aren't religious. Most men aren't looking to be under a religious orthodoxy. So it doesn't apply. So you're taking a moral standard or a religious standard to apply to people who aren't under that veil.
Here's my problem with this argument. Oh my! And people have said this to me several times. Well, you're saying how to solve the problems in marriage and to give all these solutions, but I'm not religious, so I don't care. Here's the problem. Then fail then. Then die then. Who cares? Die alone. If you don't want the solutions that come from God who created marriage, then fail. We're talking about solutions. People say, well, I'm just not religious, so I don't want to follow. It's like somebody saying, you know what? We have a whole society addicted to drugs. And everywhere I turn, people are shooting up heroin. And you saying, you know what? God made our lives better than that. If we actually taught them the Bible, got them in church, gave them a purpose, they would probably get off drugs. Well, I'm not religious. Then stay on drugs and die then. Who cares? We're talking about solutions. Do you want the solution or do you just want something tailor-made to fit your little secularist idea? See, I'm getting ahead of myself because this stuff really, I got the hiccups. I've had these arguments before. I'm not religious, so therefore your solution doesn't matter to me. Okay, I remember a cartoon and Bugs Bunny would like run off a cliff and they would say, how is he not falling? Well, I don't believe in gravity, so it doesn't apply to me. And now it just showed the stupidity of that type of thinking. Just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean that the solution is not in what you don't believe. It's still there. Who cares if you don't believe in it? Maybe you should start. This is the reason why we're bringing this up. Christianity is true. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. It doesn't matter if, I'll put it this way. It could be 0.0001% of people who believe in Christianity. Doesn't affect how true it is. Doesn't affect how much the solutions fit in and would solve every problem in society. Doesn't affect that at all.
So let's start with a couple of things you said which are fundamentally untrue. Most men are religious, in fact, including in this country. Most of them, not some of them.
But they're not religious.
Hang on, I didn't interrupt.
I understand, but let me just take that point. Most aren't under your religion.
Okay.
We can agree with that.
So here's the thing, though. But Catholicism and Orthodoxy is growing rapidly. And if it's the case that the ecclesiastical structure is already there, which it is, right? If you're going to cohabitate with a woman, the thing that you're offering right now is common law marriage anyway, if there's cohabitation at all. You're not protecting anybody from that. At least under my model, it gives an ecclesiastical structure that's designed to prevent divorce by applying community pressure. That was the way it was always done. Apply the application of community pressure within the confines of the woman's social circle. Right now, do you agree with me, for instance, that many divorces happen because women like to yap? So you get a freshly divorced woman, and she's free. You go, girl. Girl power. And she starts talking to her little friends, and she starts telling them how liberating it is and how great it is and this and that. And this is why when women have divorced friends, the likelihood of divorce actually rapidly increases. It's for this reason.
Divorce is contagious.
So if it's the case that...
What he's getting at is the social problem that we have. See, we have a society issue, especially amongst women. Women are very, very, very social. The reason why you have these men who can stay in the basement and play video games because men are not. We don't need that social environment like women do. So what he's pointing out here is that if you change the entire environment, if you change what's being pushed to women, one of the reasons why we don't understand it as men is because we like, dude, who would be affected by what people say? We don't care what people say. Women do. They do. If you show them on TV, if you show all types of, if you get all their friend group to do one thing, they will do it. You know how I know this? Go on social media right now and you'll see all the girls getting pregnant, taking their pregnancy pictures at once. They had to plan that. You'll see all of them with their wedding ring, taking their wedding ring. So they all manipulated a man to get down on one knee and propose to them? Yes. They all do it because they see the social pressure of their friend group is so strong. You'll see them all wear the same outfits. They'll have their little cowboy hats and the other one got the cowboy hat and they'll all be the same color with the white top and the blue jeans and they're all with the cowboy boots. They all wear the same thing. Social pressure for women is insane. As a man, you can't fathom how strong it is. This is why the church is so important. And me and Andrew would disagree about which church and how church should be, but we both agree that Christianity is true. And that social group is insanely important. And another thing to be said, because I know I'm going to be saying I'm not orthodox, but when it comes to the war against society, I think that's a backdoor thing. What's the word? That's on the back burner. The different denominations and stuff like that. We're at war. So if I see a Catholic dude and an atheist dude arguing, I'm on the Catholic dude's side. As long as he stays in the category or in the grouping of Christianity, I'm on his side. So that's just how it is. And I think Christians need to stop the infighting and actually realize we are at war. It's not time to just nitpick every little thing now we can discuss those things, yes. But why be discussing them when we're being attacked and destroyed by secular liberal society right now? It's not time.
The social contagion is eliminated because now we have an ecclesiastical structure, an ecclesiastical authority, which won't grant it because you get ostracized from that social group through excommunication, for instance, or not being able to participate anymore with that community. That's an application of a serious and significant social pressure, which can do the very thing you want. Bring back that great institution, absent the state, and it avoids this whole problem of common law marriage. Because if it's the case that you can be common law married anyway inside of a state, and they can get grounds for divorce on that anyway, then we actually need to have some social pressures to prevent them from doing that. So it sounds like we agree marriage is awesome for men. Divorce is terrible for them. So it seems like we should be attacking the divorce structure here, and it doesn't seem like you actually have anything to do that other than...
I have to agree with him once again, because the problem with marriage is not marriage itself. That's not what men are scared of. They're scared of the destruction of the marriage and how easily women will run from marriage and take everything they work to get. That's what men are scared of. In fact, they're so scared of it that a man will stay in marriage for darn near 100 years if he has to avoid that. The problem has never been marriage. The problem is divorce.
And just avoid the thing that's great for you, because this other bad side effect could happen.
Sure, that's
so
like smoking cigarettes.
So why don't we attack the bad side effect when we have the mechanism to do it? It's not if, we can do it now.
Okay,
Right
so
this
like
second.
smoking cigarettes is the same analogy you're saying. Okay, here, cigarettes in this situation, we obviously know it has negative side effects, so you would avoid it. Now, here's the issue that I have with it. It sounds great on paper, but we can't travel to the land of make-believe. It sounds great. The majority of people probably wouldn't do it. And if you ask a guy, which this is an important part, they're not even prepared to even talk about that. They don't even know what divorce laws are. So you're asking them to travel to the land of make-believe under a marriage system that small percentage of people use. No one uses it today. You might have said they used it to the past. Today, that doesn't exist. So we can't travel to the land of make-believe to make marriage.
Okay, I'm getting sick of dude saying the land of make-believe. Because he's saying that, but just because you say it over and over doesn't make it true. When we're giving solutions, everything is hypothetical when it comes to how much it affects the future, because we're not in the future, right? So we gotta give a hypothetical scenario to understand in the future something that we're not experiencing right now can exist if we push this agenda, right? So in the land of make-believe, no. And further, why it's not make-believe is because we have seen it win. We have seen in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, black people in general were more married than white people, and white people weren't far behind. So marriage did succeed. So if we saw that it can succeed, we know for a fact it can in the future. So it's not a hypothetical world of make-believe if we've done it before. That's like saying we're heading towards war and a big world war. Well, that's a hypothetical land of make-believe. No, we've had 2 world wars before. And the Cold War as well. Yeah, those things can happen. That's not make-believe to say we should prepare and push this.
Work for you. It might work in your marriage, but it doesn't work for the greater structure.
Your argument here contradicts itself, because on the one hand, you say men don't know enough about marriage, but my assumption is that your mission is to let men know about marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay, well then, I don't understand how it's a land of make-believe. You can let them know about this, but I can't.
Sure.
Right, so
you can offer that.
So if I
You can offer
am,
that.
it sounds like I'm offering a real alternative to what you're offering. And here's what you're offering. Men, marriage is great. It's a great institution. It's the best for children. These are your words. In marriage, right? Men seem to thrive. Their health seems to thrive. Everything seems to thrive. You're saying, well, the problem is that divorce rates are high, and they are. However, there's a few things there that you haven't covered. One, it depends on demographic too. For instance, if you're black, it's going to be way worse than if you're white.
Before he gets that, I want to get to something because this is something that secularists do all the time, and it kind of annoys me. I love debates. I like watching them because I kind of try to dig deep into why people are saying what they're saying. And seculars do this thing where they're like, you should give a solution without what you really believe. That's what they tell Christians all the time. They will bring their beliefs as much as they want. They will present their arguments as much as they want. But if you present your arguments in the way you think the world should be, well, do it without religion. Why? I believe religion. I believe in the Bible. I believe in Christian ethics. Why should I have to present with a handicap and you get to present your ideas freely? That doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, yeah, but that's religious. And? So what? So if I take the word religion out of it and just present the same exact ideas and say they're from me, would it be okay? People try to do this and they do that all the time. Everybody ain't religious. So what? Everybody should be. And, like that's a bad argument in my opinion.
Correct.
Okay, way worse. And also socioeconomics matters, right? Demographics in general matter. So you can do a lot, actually, including prenuptial agreements. You can have a prenuptial agreement with the ecclesiastical authority without the state even involved, and it seems like that would mitigate your risk to damn near nothing.
You said if about 50 times
So did
today.
you.
Now, here's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you when, all right? We're already in this system. You're going outside of the system to create a scenario for me to argue
What
against.
system are you going outside of?
We're talking about marriage is typically done with the state. Almost everyone does it this way.
Typically
so now
is
you're
not-
here's hold on
is
for a
not
second. Hold on
us.
for a second. You've
Typically
moved the
doesn't mean
goalpost.
anything.
You've moved the goalpost to a scenario of if, and you're arguing
is.
from the if. No,
Is.
hold on for a second. You're arguing from the if perspective.
It is perspective.
No, listen.
It is
Give
the
me a
is
chance to
perspective.
listen.
All right,
Give
I'll
me a
give you
chance.
Go ahead.
You're arguing from a very small percentage point. Now you're saying demographics, and we can talk about that, but you're still trying to get me to argue in your cloud of if. That's the land of make believe. Most people, by far, are married to the state. Not only that.
This is a bad, and I'll explain why. Because he's doing the same thing. If you ask how many men believe in the red pill free agent philosophy that he has, it's a very small demographic. So how can he say, hey, well, it's not that many people that are really, really religious like you. You might be right. There's not too many people out of the whole grand scope of all humanity, or even just in America, who has read his book and believe his philosophy. Same boat. So what's the problem? We both got ideologies here that the majority of the population has not accepted. We're pushing ideas. It's not about popularity. You're saying, oh, well, most people won't do that. Well, they should. And here's the thing, like I said before, and if they don't, then accept failure and just be cool with that. You can't make people accept it. Part of the reason why it's United States is having the problems that it has is because we don't want to address the real issue, especially in the black community, which they're going to get into. I don't want to overstep them. I'm just going to play it because when they get into that, I'm going to speak on that.
Your land of make-believe still exists, the prenup with the ecclesiastics. You can write whatever you want in that prenup. It only matters in the divorce. That's the reality. So I'm still dealing in reality. You're in the clouds. Hold on for a second. You're in the clouds. So let's take
That's
this
not true
demographics.
either.
Okay.
In your scenario, it sounds like, which would be fair, your primary concern is with white people.
No, it's with
Hold on.
What? Wait a second. I got to address something he said. And I know I'm interrupting, but it's just so much there. He said, should I wait on this? He said the prenup only affects the divorce. Not true. Because there's a such thing as preventative measures and taking a cost-benefit analysis. So if you were to take a cost-benefit analysis or look at the consequences of your actions like most people do, you will say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't go down that road because the consequence is that I won't get the house. I won't get the children. I won't get the car. I won't get the dog because I chose to cheat on my husband with Chad and Tyrone. Maybe it's not beneficial, so maybe I should work it out. You know how I know that works? Because women are the ones divorcing 80% of the time and men are sticking it out. So it must be some reason why they're sticking it out. Oh, they lose everything in the divorce? Is that what you're saying? Is that why they're staying? Well, that's good for the sense of it shows they're staying because it ain't no benefit to leave. We need to do that same thing on both sides. It should never be a benefit to just destroy your marriage on either side. And if you have a social environment called the church, responsibilities, accountability in that social group, yeah, it's going to be hard to just leave and uproot your whole family when you know every friend you got is going to tell you you're a terrible person for doing that.
For a second, you said with black people, the demographics, the chance is higher.
Yeah.
So have you discovered the ecclesiastics approach to black people married within this?
Yes.
However, their demographics, economics, which all do affect marriage, has nothing to do in the land of the clouds or the make-believe with ecclesiastics. It's all going to boil down to in the law. And there's no church reverend that's going to go into your household to make sure there's social pressure on your wife. Do you know
Yes,
any?
sir. Yes.
Okay.